that was fun. Again. The Knicks go into the All-Star break with an overtime victory against the Hawks. Wasn't needed, though. The Knicks come out of the All-Star break a little rusty in the first quarter, but end up beating the Chicago Bulls in overtime, 113-111, their first victory against the Bulls this year, after a heartbreaker at MSG months before in November. But regardless, the Knicks hang on for their 37th victory of the season. How did this all happen? Well, let's get into it. What is going on, everyone? This is Luca here from Knicks Cast, coming back at you with another video. As tonight, I am recapping the New York Knicks victory over the Chicago Bulls, first game back from the All-Star break, as the Knicks were victorious 113-111, earning their 37th victory of the season. Bulls lose their 34th game of the season. This is a first game of a back-to-back for the Knicks, as they will be playing the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow. Very important game, I might stress, because the Cavaliers are the top team in the Eastern Conference. Two key factors as well for tonight's game. Josh Hart and OG Anunoby did not play despite being questionable, where Josh Hart was more so out with patellofemoral syndrome, I believe it's called. It has to do with your kneecap and just the general damage done to the cartilage around that area. But regardless, the Knicks did miss his presence a little bit. But let's get into the individual players. But before that, if you'd hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live or I drop a new video. Regardless, let's get to the breakdown. So, this was a very groggy start for both teams. First game off the All-Star break. I believe it was a recorded stat somebody mentioned on Twitter that both teams missed a combined 25 threes between the first and second quarter, and that was pretty much what led to the score being 21-19 at the end of the first quarter. As you know, both the Knicks and the Bulls are pretty much offensive teams, not so much defense, of what you would expect the Tom Thibodeau Knicks to be like. But 21-19 was a shock to be in the first quarter. There wasn't a lot of consistency shooting-wise. The Knicks started Deuce McBride to add some shooting in there, and he had one hell of a game. I'll get to him in a second. But Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't hitting from three. Brunson had some nice moments, but I think one of the biggest things in the first quarter was the Knicks were getting a lot of turnover loose balls from the Bulls, deflections, balls out of bounds. Just like the Bulls were a little bit out of their element, but the Knicks were just not creating those turnovers in the first quarter, so that's why they'd be only down 2 points. So for the second quarter, there was a little bit of a change of a tide, not so much as in the third and fourth quarter, but Deuce McBride and Jalen Brunson started to get hot. So just to recap, Jalen Brunson ended the night with 22 points, 8 of 21 from the field. He also hit the game-tying shot, in the fourth quarter. Deuce McBride had a phenomenal game, and just to expand to him a little bit, I thought this was his best game of the regular season. 23 points, 9 of 19 from the field, 3-point shooting, 5 of 12 from downtown. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. He was a menace everywhere to be found. Just great performance overall. And you know what? With Josh Hart being out, you obviously need to have that next man up type level defense. He definitely added spacing to the floor with the 5 3-pointers made. Obviously replacing that, doing that much better than Josh Hart would. And regarding Josh Hart as well, the Knicks also missed a little bit of his rebounding and the dirty work in between. But regardless, I really hope Deuce McBride can build from this night. His 3-point shooting was phenomenal. His defense was phenomenal. He was a menace to be reckoned with, or I should say a force to be reckoned with. The one possession that I loved, I believe this was in the third quarter, I think. Deuce McBride was tightly defended. I think it was either by Kobe White or somebody else, one of the guards, maybe Ayo Dosunmu. McBride was at a tough shot. You know, he was tightly guarded, puts up a floater, somehow gets the shot to go. And then when the Bulls inbounded, Deuce comes out of nowhere, steals the ball. Then you have Karl-Anthony Towns running back to the side of the floor. Deuce hands it off to Towns. Towns is wide open and lays the ball in. That's kind of the sequence that really sparked Deuce's night, and you got to give him a lot of credit. And I really hope that not saying he has to score 23 points every night, but I think I mentioned this in my first half video. I said that the Knicks need more consistent bench production. Not saying that Deuce McBride has to score 23 points every night. If he puts this type of effort when it comes to steals, and we know he's capable defensively, but offensively, if there's like some sort of double-digit points consistency and the spacing is there, Brunson's going to get some rest, and the guard play is going to get some rest from the starting lineup. So Deuce McBride's performance from here on out is key. So in the second quarter, I did mention also Jalen Brunson had a very good performance. He really started to hit his stride. But we'll move to the third quarter. This is when the game really started to head towards some real NBA action. A lot of shots were going down. The Bulls just wouldn't miss from three. Josh Giddey hit a couple of threes. He ended up with 27 points, I guess. And I don't know what it is. Is it the MSG? Is it playing in MSG? Is it the Madison Square Garden air? Is it the New York air? Or playing in the Knicks in general? Josh Giddey, I believe last year at the Thunder, it was either last year or the year before, he had a double-double of some sort, and he put up another double-double tonight. 16 rebounds, 27 points, 4-6 from 3, and it's one of those things where he's a non-shooter, not a great shooter from downtown, at best a mid-30s percentage shooter from 3, and it's just so annoying to watch as a fan. You see Josh Giddey being left open and just knocking these open threes down. Even on some like lightly contested threes, he's knocking these threes down. So Josh Giddey started to get hot a little bit. Julian Phillips, I think, hit some key shots as well, either in the third or fourth quarter. Nikola Vucevic was also a factor, second leading scorer in the starting lineup. But the one factor, and I felt this throughout the game, there was at least one hero, in my opinion, for the Knicks per quarter. We had Jalen Brunson and Deuce McBride in the second quarter. This one was Karl Anthony Towns, and Towns did not have a great start to the game. But in the third quarter, should I say, he was 9 of 10, had 2 and 1s, 20 points, and also he hit a 3 from downtown. And he was taking advantage of every mismatch he had. He was aggressive. He was playing with reckless abandon. And that's just great. It was a great performance by Towns because you could see him bouncing back after a rough, slow start. He's not giving up on the shooting. He's not being passive. He's being aggressive, and rightfully so. Finding that right size of aggressiveness where he's not being too over aggressive or anything like that. But Towns had a really nice bounce back third quarter. Unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, though, he did start to freeze up a little bit with the shooting. But that's where we're going to lead to Mikal Bridges, who, for the most of the fourth quarter, Tom Thibodeau decided to roll with a lineup with Ariel Hukporti, Precious Achiuwa, both the big men, both non-spacers, which I'll get to, which was a problem. You also had, as I said, Mikal Bridges. I believe Cameron Payne was in that lineup as well, and a little bit of Landry Shamet mixed in as well. Mikal Bridges, I think, had a solid night, more so in the second half, and I will bring up a play that greatly benefited the Knicks and essentially gave them basically put them free of a loss. Basically was a game-saving play, and that would be at the end where the Knicks switched a little pin down where Kobe White came off the pin down to the top of the key, and Nikola Vucevic was I believe in the post. He was in the paint, and the Knicks opted to switch that. It was Precious originally on Vucevic, but in order to prevent the three, Precious and Mikal switched the pin down, and Vucevic, as he turned to make the hook shot, I was like, oh no, we're gonna lose this way. This is not how you want to lose this game. You know, especially you want to set a good tone coming out of the All-Star break. And Mikal Bridges blocks the shot. I was like, wow. That was one heck of a play. And, you know, there's been some criticism towards Mikal Bridges, and rightfully so. Sometimes about his defense, sometimes about the lack of consistent shooting at times. But the fourth quarter, I think, you know, keeping the Knicks ahead at most points was mostly because of him, because he was majority the only offensive creator out there. And the Knicks ran plenty of screens and actions in the fourth quarter to get him open in the mid-range. And he was like bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket. And he was just phenomenal in the fourth quarter as they brought up the defensive aspect. But I also thought he played some good defense on Kobe White. But I think the Bulls started to adjust with the two non-spacers in the lineup, and that's something I talked about in my recap video with the criticism of Tibbs. Is like the size to him is the preference, not the spacing of the floor. And you saw when the Bulls started to come back, and Ariel Hukporti, I think, had 3 or 4 personal fouls at one point. And just the defense started to decline on the perimeter, where where the Bulls really not attacking the paint as much. So they started to hit from 3, and Tom Thibodeau, I think, a little too late, pulled out Hukporti and finally put in Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. For most of that lineup, Mikal Bridges was doing the heavy lifting until he couldn't do any more when the Bulls finally solved Bridges coming off of screens without the ball in his hands. So getting into the overtime period, nothing much can be said here except the Bulls. 3 turnovers in the overtime period, not great for them, and it was a really sloppy game for the 15 turnovers for the Bulls, 13 for the Knicks. The Knicks are usually a low turnover team, but they had 13 tonight. Bulls, I said, 15, and it really distracted them on a lot of possessions, but also as well, Karl Anthony Towns started to really get hot again in the overtime period. Jalen Brunson hit a couple of key shots. Precious Achiuwa had a nice lay-in or two. And you really saw the scoring come together a little bit. Deuce McBride, I think, had like 1 or 2 threes in the overtime period. But it was like kind of a coming together, as I said. Yeah, Jalen Brunson and Deuce McBride being the heroes of the second quarter, should I say. Karl Anthony Towns, being a menace in the third quarter. His shooting finally getting up to where it should be, should I say. And you also had Mikal Bridges in the fourth quarter with the defense and with the shooting aspect. And another hero I should mention as well, towards the end, Precious Achiuwa. Great defensive possession of Kobe White at the end of the game. So what happened was it was an inbounds play. I don't remember how many seconds were left. I think it was 2. It was off. It was originally a deflected ball. It was a loose ball. I think Precious Achiuwa grabbed it. The ball was out of bounds, or it might have been deflection of some sorts. And the Bulls had about 2 seconds on the clock. So the Bulls inbounded to Kobe White. Might have been more than 2 seconds. Not sure. But regardless, ball was inbounded to Kobe White. They switched again. Kobe White comes off the pin down. He's matched up against Achiuwa. Tries to take him off the dribble. Tries to get him off a screen, I think. And White basically had no answer. He couldn't pull a step back because the shot would have been tightly contested, possibly blocked. So he throws it into Vucevic. The Knicks pushed him so far out of the paint just a little bit of space for him to be out of the paint, that the potential game-winning shot was an air ball. So this was, I gotta say, one of the better nights defensively for the Knicks. Caused a lot of turnovers, a lot of deflections. I think Precious Achiuwa, Ariel Hukporti at moments, he had a great block in the third or fourth quarter, I believe. It was either the late third quarter, the earlier fourth quarter. Had a great block at the rim. Also heroes, Deuce McBride, as I mentioned, Mikal Bridges, some of the heroes defensively as well. And you'd like to, as much as the Knicks were coming off of an all-star break, same thing for the Bulls, a lot of rust. You'd like to see this consistent defensive effort moving forward. And there's obviously things to be improved upon with the offense and all, but good win coming out of the break. A lot to work on, especially with the Knicks going to visit the Cavs tomorrow in Cleveland. But if you watch the whole video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and also turn on that notification bell so you know when I go live for a live stream or I drop a new video. Also share this out to your Knicks fan friends and family. It's been a good time talking to you guys, and I'll catch you later.